In this report, I share the cost to retire early in Galle, Sri Lanka, including rents, utilities, groceries, restaurants, transportation, and other expenses for low to middle range living costs. Galle was already the main port of Sri Lanka when the Portuguese showed up in the 16th century, so the Portuguese began the development of the stone walls of Fort Galle. The city walls were extensively fortified by the Dutch when they showed up and took over in 1649. Galle Fort is now a World Heritage Site and the largest remaining fortress in Asia built by European occupiers. The Persians, Greeks, Arabs, Romans, Malays, Indians, and Chinese all traded with Galle more than 1,000 years before the 16th century Europeans showed up and built this fort. In 1640, the Portuguese surrendered the fort to the Dutch, and the British took over from the Dutch in 1796 until Sri Lankans sent the British packing in 1948. The Sri Lankan people are some of the kindest people in the world and seem to hold no grudge against Europeans. But if you're curious how an educated Sri Lankan historian perceived local conditions during European rule, there's a link here with that information. We spent a month traveling around Sri Lanka looking for our favorite places to retire there and estimating how much we would need per month for the two of us to retire early in Galle. We first investigated the southern beaches of Sri Lanka and decided that Weligama is where we would retire if we wanted to live on the beaches of Sri Lanka. Here's a link to that report if you are curious. Next, we came here to Galle, Sri Lanka to see if we would love to retire at this ancient fortress or nearby in the city. That is what we discuss in this report. After this, we'll head up into the hills of Sri Lanka and see if there's a hill station with cooler mountain weather where we would like to retire. Subscribe now if you would like to be notified when that report comes out. In this report, I show you the food we ate, the things we did for fun, the cost of living, and our conclusion about the overall retirement desirability of Galle in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is 55 kilometers off the southern coast of India. In this report, we cover Galle, the Galle Fort, and the Unawatuna beach area. If we retired in Galle area, we would probably live outside the Galle Fort walls in a more modest neighborhood and visit the Galle Fort and Unawatuna beach for entertainment. I'll now share my Galle Sri Lanka retirement desirability factors such as walkability, internet, food, weather, things to do, social considerations, visas, real estate, expat community, and health care. But first, I'll share my cost of living estimates ranging from low to middle for Galle, Sri Lanka. You should know that our estimated living costs for Sri Lanka are more than double what this Australian shared with us in this interview. I'll include a link to that interview also. Estimated cost to retire in Galle, Sri Lanka. Here's my estimated cost of living converted into US dollars if the two of us moved to Galle, Sri Lanka year-round on a tight budget. We'll also include more typical expenses we've heard from other expats to give you another data point. I'll call that the middle cost of living. Rents. I found this furnished one-bedroom, one-bath apartment for rent for 100,000 Sri Lankan rupees, which is 331 US dollars per month on a 12-month rental in the city of Galle. If you rented for a shorter period of time, say on Airbnb, it would be much more expensive. If you rented a larger home or townhouse, the rent would be higher, approximately $600 per month. Here's the process we use to find great apartments. So we'll show you a table of all expenses in a moment. We'll use that $331 per month for our lower rent estimate and $600 per month for the middle cost of living estimate for expats who want more space. Utilities. We estimate the year-round average for our utilities would be about 50 US per month. The utilities would be more for expats with the larger space, about $70 per month. Groceries. We normally shop for fresh fruits and vegetables in wet markets to save money rather than the more expensive grocery stores, but also shop in grocery stores for things like shampoo and detergent. We estimate about $250 per month for groceries. Other expats are likely to shop more often in expensive grocery stores, often spending more like $400 per month on groceries. Restaurants. We would go out to eat 2 or 3 times per week, mostly in more local style restaurants, averaging like $4 to $5 per month, but also in tourist or expat style restaurants for about $10 per month per person. If you add that up, we'd spend about $60 per week or $240 per month in restaurants for the two of us. Other expats are likely to eat more Western style foods in expensive expat style restaurants and less in the local style restaurants. So they would likely spend around $320 per month for 2 people in restaurants. Cell phone data. The cost to recharge our Mobitel prepaid smartphone service was $4 per month. My Android phone will act as a hotspot, so we can both be on the internet at the same time when we are out of the house together. Other expat couples are likely to buy 2 prepaid SIM cards. So they would spend $8 per month. Laundry, we would spend about $45 per month sending out our laundry. Drinking water, we would spend about $12 per month for reverse osmosis drinking water. Internet, 80 megabits per second up and down is about $10 for in-home Wi-Fi. Transportation, we would take local buses along the coast to visit other cities and beaches for a change of pace. The buses usually run around 70 Sri Lankan rupees or 23 cents per person each way. We estimate about $16 per month for the two of us for transportation. Other expats might walk less and spend more on transportation like Uber taxis, so I estimate $80 a month for them. Alcohol, which is optional, of course. Large local beers or Lion beers, 500 milliliters in local bars and restaurants, be about $3.31 US during happy hour. So we would spend about $140 per month on alcohol for the two of us. Many other expats would spend a higher amount for imported foreign or craft beers and expat bars. So about $260 US per month for 2 people, assuming they are not into imported whiskey or wine. Entertainment, which is optional, of course, we would budget about $200 per month for entertainment for the two of us. We generally enjoy more do-it-yourself kinds of entertainment, so expats might spend more, maybe $300 per month if they're doing organized tours and that kind of thing for the two of them. Okay, estimated cost to living in Galle, Sri Lanka. Rent, $331 per month. Utilities, $250 for groceries, $240 for restaurants, $4 per cell data, laundry $45 a month, drinking water $12, internet $10, and transportation $16. That would be $958 per month for the basic costs for Galle, Sri Lanka. If you had alcohol of $120, that would put you at $1,078, and entertainment of $200 would put you at $1,278. For the more expensive middle range with the higher rents, the basic cost would be $1,545. And if you add the optional more expensive alcohol, $1,785. If you add the more expensive entertainment, it would put you at $2,085 per month. The above lower estimated cost of living would be if the two of us lived in Galle, Sri Lanka on a tight budget. The middle estimate is just an example of what other expats might spend if they moved here. To understand what it would cost you to live here, you must put your feet on the ground, see how you would choose to live, eat, and entertain yourself, and add it all up. It doesn't matter what anyone else spends because we are all different. Okay, why we would live in Galle instead of Unawatuna Beach. We really enjoyed spending time in the Galle Fortress and the surrounding areas. The shopping was great, and there was much more to do in that area. Unawatuna is one of the most beautiful beaches in southern Sri Lanka, but there's not much to do there other than enjoy a beautiful beach. The restaurants there were priced for tourism rather than everyday local life. And for anything other than a beach, we would have to head into Galle anyway, since we only go to the beach a few times per month. It would make more sense for us to live in Galle and just visit the beach when the desire arises. The bus to and from Unawatuna from Galle is about 70 Sri Lankan rupees or 23 cents. So it's cheap and easy to go back and forth between them. I think it was 10 or 15 minutes on the bus. So we will discuss the following livability factors based upon living in Galle as our base. Okay, Galle Sri Lankan livability factors. Before you move anywhere outside your home country, make sure to create a list of things that you must have for your happy retirement. If you would like to learn how I fired my boss and traveled the world for 16 years and how I pay for things, grab a free copy of my ebook. Here are my livability factors, and I'll rank each as high, medium, or low before assigning an overall retirement desirability score to Galle, Sri Lanka. Okay, walkability, high. We would walk everywhere in Galle. When we wanted to go to another town in Sri Lanka, we would just ride the local buses. Many of the other beaches in southern Sri Lanka are just 70 Sri Lankan rupees or 23 cents per person each way on local buses. Internet, I would say medium. In-home Wi-Fi alone is not as reliable in Sri Lanka as it is in, say, Malaysia or Thailand. So I would suggest also having a smartphone that can act as a hotspot as a backup when in your home Wi-Fi goes out of whack. Okay, food, I would say medium. You'll find local places off the beaten tourist path that have veggie curries for as low as $3 around Galle, but you should be prepared to buy ingredients at the wet markets and grocery stores and to make dishes at home, or you'll eventually get bored of eating the same curry dishes. The Western-style restaurants inside the Galle fort are extremely expensive, so we would only visit those once or twice per month. But there are great grass areas where you can bring a picnic basket and enjoy the fortress also. Okay, weather, medium. Daily highs average around 84 Fahrenheit or 29 Celsius in July to 90 Fahrenheit or 32 Celsius in March. Nightly lows average about 75 Fahrenheit or 24 Celsius in November to 79 Fahrenheit or 26 Celsius in September. It rains about 7.7 inches or 195 millimeters in November and 1.7 inches or 43 millimeters in February. So that to give you an idea of a rainy season. Things to do, high. Galle Fort and area have more things to do than you'll generally find in the southern beaches of Sri Lanka. Of course, there are beaches around Galle, so if you're interested in ocean and beach life, such as surfing, windsurfing, kite surfing, fishing, deep sea fishing, wave runners, scuba and snorkeling, yoga or running on the beach, or swimming for exercise, or any other outdoor activity on the beach, then Galle beaches will also be a nice fit for you. Just understand that the better surf beaches are further east of Galle, like in Waligama and 𝗪𝐸𝐴. But the bus there takes about 35 minutes and runs every 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, social considerations. Sri Lanka was a former English colony, and no matter where you go, people seem to be able to communicate with you in English. The people are very friendly and nice. I don't believe you'll face any additional challenges because you are a foreigner. There does not seem to be as many expats from the West retired here, but there are Europeans, Australians, and Russians vacationing here. Expat community. You'll see expats from all over the world here, but it is still relatively undiscovered by Westerners compared to other parts of Asia. Here are a few Facebook pages that cater explicitly to expats from overseas living in Sri Lanka. I provide 3 of them here. These online expat communities are great for learning all about things that expats want to learn when they first move overseas. But do check each before asking any specific questions. You'll often find that someone has already answered your questions recently, so don't waste their time by asking it again before reading. That way they will be more willing to answer any new questions you have that have not yet been answered. Okay, medical. The quality of healthcare services in Sri Lanka in both private and public sectors, while better than in most developing countries, still lags behind those offered in more advanced countries. A large number of private hospitals have appeared in Sri Lanka due to the rising income of people and demand for private healthcare services. They provide much more luxurious service than government hospitals, but they are mostly limited to the Colombo or capital and its suburbs. I've read that public healthcare is free to expats, but medicines are not. Expats may be asked to donate to medical facilities. Okay, tourist visa. Tourists wishing to stay more than 30 days in Sri Lanka may apply for an extension for a maximum of 270 days from the date of arrival. The extensions may be awarded in 30, 60, and 90 days at a time. Then the tourist must do a visa run to another country and come back to start the 270-day limit process all over again. Retirement visa. Any foreign national over 55 years of age can apply for a long stay visa renewable in 2-year blocks. It requires $15,000 US or the equivalent and a fixed deposit account in any approved Sri Lanka bank and must show a monthly remittance of $1,500 or the equivalent to an approved foreign currency for the principal applicant and $750 or the equivalent for each additional spouse or dependent child. The applicant must include bank statements and police clearance from the country of domicile and a marriage certificate if you're requiring a visa for your spouse. Real estate. Foreigners can own real estate via a corporation with a trustee owning 51%. However, I do not recommend buying real estate in a foreign country until you have lived there for at least 2 years. You should also get your own lawyer that has no conflict of interest with you. For example, do not use a lawyer recommended by your real estate broker or local lover. Galle Sri Lanka overall desirability score. I would say high. Although Sri Lanka is a lovely place to visit, if I were going to settle down today for more than a year or two, I would more likely pick any of my top places to retire around the world as I share in this video. But we are all different, so I bet many of you would be very happy living in Galle or other parts of Sri Lanka permanently. What would it cost you to live in Sri Lanka? To get a better understanding of things you should add to our estimated cost of living, watch this video, 9 reasons you can't retire on $1,000 a month overseas. Most people will be unable to retire at the lower range estimates above. I give example reasons why in this report. Plus, the other report explains how to avoid coming home early with your tail between your legs. Also, if you're going to try to retire cheap offshore, make sure to read my report, The 2 Biggest Risks of Retiring Early for Cheap Offshore, which explains why you should have emergency funds available for unexpected large expenses. You should also add anything to the table that you spend money on in your home country that's not listed in the table. Presumably, you find those things necessary in life. To do that, visit Numbeo for Galle and add anything not mentioned in the above table. Never move anywhere until you've visited first personally to verify the living costs for your lifestyle needs. I'm not guaranteeing these prices. These are just my notes and estimates from the time of my visit and this post. Your costs will likely be drastically different depending on your lifestyle and the time since this post. Many of the expats we meet living overseas are self-insured for medical. That means that not everyone buys health insurance when they move overseas. That probably sounds crazy to many of you. I didn't carry medical insurance for most of my first 17 years living overseas, but last year I bought medical insurance. If you're wondering what it costs and what it covers, watch my medical insurance video at this link. This is not an affiliate link. More typical expat living costs in Sri Lanka range from about $1,500 to $3,000 per month, but people spending that much often have higher savings, incomes, or pensions. They often report spending more on accommodations, entertainment, eating out more, traveling, and alcohol. Many also have more expensive cars, houses, or apartments. Where we stayed in Galle, Sri Lanka, we stayed in this apartment just 3 blocks outside the Galle Fort walls. When we stayed here, it was $21 per night. Galle area bars, restaurants, and services. All the restaurants we stayed at, the bars we visited in both Galle and Unawatuna, along with the services such as bus terminals, grocery stores, wine stores, and the water store are at the first link in the notes below this video, along with all the other links I've already mentioned. There's also a must-see in Galle walking tour map. You just click it and walk and take the walking tour. This walking tour is just a brief introduction to this amazing fortress. You'll love just walking around after that, enjoying yourself. Thanks for watching our video, Retire Early in Galle, Sri Lanka. Click the video in the upper right-hand corner of the screen now if you'd like to learn how this Australian lives on $400 per month in Sri Lanka. Plus, grab a free copy of my ebook if you'd like to know how I was able to retire early and start traveling the world more than 17 years ago. Thanks for watching our video.